Welcome to the second in our overtime series of the 2024 season. We're back for the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover 2024 mid-season awards plus trade deadline special, as the trade deadline has just passed at the time of recording. So it would be amiss for us not to discuss that as well, the key moves that were made. Transfer deadline.
With our yellow ties.
Jumped into Sky Sports News there. No, on transfer. I've just did it again. Trade deadline day. A very busy day. Got the election going on. Trade deadline. Maction. Football starts for college football. Midweek Maction, which I'm very much looking forward to. Loads going on. Champions League's on as well. Busy old night. Bonfire night. You might be able to hear, actually, while we're recording, the fireworks going off because it's been pretty loud. There's one over the road from where I live, so that may mess with
the US is also testing an intercontinental nuclear-capable ballistic missile tonight because there's enough going on.
Yeah, bonfire night. Yeah.
Test that out. Yeah, why not? That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, bonfire night. We're not have fireworks over here today, but remember.
Excellent. Right. So we'll get into it first. So trade deadline is just passed half an hour ago. There might be still some that come through that we end up missing because the Niners have just had one that we've been made aware of at 25 past 9 UK time, so 25 minutes after the deadline. Some key ones, I think, I know I want to shout out the Steelers have made 2 moves. I think that's probably they've been the biggest movers on in the run up to the deadline. The Steelers have traded for Mike Williams from the Jets in exchange for a 2025 fifth-round pick, and also Preston Smith from the Packers for a 7th-round pick. Is this the Steelers gearing up? Do they think they're in with a chance here of making a run deep into the postseason and a stocking up?
It certainly seems like it. I think Mike Williams is a good fit for what Russell Wilson does best. What he didn't do is enough in Denver, I think, and what he's been doing a lot in Pittsburgh, which is, the moon ball. Pickens loves it. Williams loves it. I think that's a really good fit for, what was it, a 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick? Very little compensation. So I think that makes a ton of sense. They're very low on receiving talent. Roman Wilson's on IR. Van Jefferson's been okay for Van Jefferson, but he's still Van Jefferson at the end of the day. Frymuth's been okay. We're pretty good. Yeah, definitely need another body in there. And Preston Smith, I think it's just strength on strength, isn't it? I think it's just sensible, team building from Pittsburgh. They're not mortgaging the future to push to now, but I think they're just making sensible steps to be better today, yeah.
Yeah, there was certainly a team which, even in the summer, it was fairly obvious they wanted wide receiver help, and I think they were linked to with every single one which came about and never pulled the trigger. So why not go for a flyer with Mike Williams? It obviously hasn't worked out the Jets. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised the Jets got rid of him because it felt like when he made that mistake in week 6 that he was gone then. But it felt like he's still being part of the offense the last few weeks, and you never can have enough wide receivers. But obviously, it just didn't quite work out. He's not the same as he was at the LA Chargers, but why not? He's probably going to be a number 2, number 3, just because how bad that wide receiver room is and how they've started. Gamble, because what is these picks in a year or two's time? It's it's practice squad players when you've got a real opportunity to do something with how they've started and how everyone's going. And that Preston Smith, that's always one way. It's like, wow, they got Preston Smith, but I guess he's not the Preston Smith from 3 or 4 years ago when he was one of the best. He was one of the Packers' best defenders. So we'll see how that works out. But certainly strengthening their defense, which is what they're known for.
Yeah, already a great one. Some depth there. I suppose the other key ones, shout out the Commanders have strengthened an area that has been a weakness for a while, and they've tried to address it in the draft. It's not necessarily worked out, but they've traded for Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. The Saints parted with their head coach on Monday, or late Sunday, and then on Tuesday they traded one of their veteran players. And I think it was going to be one of the veteran defensive players if there was one that was going to get traded. Then they've got a pretty decent haul for him as well. Also shocks me, I think he's only 28, Marshawn Lattimore, as well. It makes me feel like, obviously he's been around for so long, but he's well into his 30s. But I think they've got a third, is it a third, a fifth, and a sixth? Is that right?
It's a third, a fourth.
Is it a third, a fourth, and a sixth? And the Saints are going to need those picks, right? That's, a team, we mentioned it time and time again, the cap hell there, just continually, and it's not showing signs of easing anytime soon. So they're going to need those picks. And Lattimore finds himself in the Commanders team that's 7-2. He fits a real need for them. And they've addressed the problem. And the defense has been getting better as well. And if you add a veteran like Lattimore, I think the only way is up for the Commanders with that move.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a really good approach from Washington, and it's just sensible as well. Building that team really well. And just kind of a no-brainer move.
Feels weird seeing him make good decisions consistently. It's not used to it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And the Lions, I suppose we should best mention. So we waited and said we think they'll make a move to help that defensive line after Aiden Hutchinson went down. They went and knocked on the Cleveland Browns' door and picked up Zadarius Smith. It's a fifth, a 2025 fifth, and a 2026 sixth for Smith, and also a seventh in 2026. He's going back to the line, so not a lot really considering the need. Is Smith going to be out? You can't replace Hutchinson, but they didn't get anybody else. Do we think that the one piece is enough to fill the void?
I'm not sure if it fills the void, like you say. It's certainly. They're in a better place than they were last week, but they're in a worse place than they were a month ago. I guess it's maybe the easiest way to put it. I think it benefits them, again, in the short term. When you get to the playoffs, when it's going to matter more, you might look back at this week and think, maybe they should have done a little more to strengthen there. But, we don't know what deals were available or who was on the market. So, they've done something, I think, and it all feel likely they were going to get it. Zadarius Smith seemed like it's been on the radar for 2 weeks now that he's going to end up in the Lions. So yeah, I give it like an A+, no, but it's probably like a B-. It's okay. Just we'll see where they go from here. I think again the postseason is going to be where we decide how successful it is.
I think it's one of them things where I wonder if fans we just expect way too much. Like the Lions just why don't they get someone to obviously not going to replace Hutchinson, because I think he was probably the favourite to win Defensive Player of the Year, how he was playing with the amount of pressures and everything he was doing. So you're not going to replace that. But to the expectations, they're just going to get a Max Crosby, or they're just going to get someone like that. It just doesn't really happen. These massive trades midway through the season. Why would a team give that much and or give away that big of a player? So I think they've done probably the best they can do in this situation, where you just get a middling defensive player who has a high upside, and I think that's the best you can do. And at least they've done something to try to do that. It would be nice if they got two of these kind of players, but again, they don't want to mortgage the house too much, because Hutchinson will be back again next year, and they'll want to keep building on this team because that's what they've done well at. So yeah, I can't really knock them too much when this defense has been a hell of a lot better than we expected it to be coming into this year.
Yeah. The rest, I'll scan over the rest because I don't think we've missed anything that's been major. I think those were the headline ones, those four that we've talked about. The Ravens have got some secondary help. So we've talked about how potential secondary help, Byron's face there, but how easy they've been to pass on. They've taken a punt on Tre'Davious White from the Rams. He's had obviously injury problems for the last couple of years. Was actually one of the top corners in the NFL, but injury bug bitten him. So taking a chance that they might be able to get 6 or 8 games out of him, running into the postseason, and get some secondary help in there. The Bengals have got some running back help or depth. I don't know if that's the right thing to talk about it, but with Khalil Herbert coming from the Bears, Zach Moss is likely done for the year with that neck injury we talked about the other day. He's on injured reserve. Herbert provides some depth for the Bengals. Joe, your 49ers have got some D tackle help. Khalil Davis from the Texans. Is it that been a major problem for the Niners, you think, so far, the interior of the D-line?
I think the whole D-line, we just have so many injuries that, you just stack up there and you just need another body. It's not been, I don't think the line's been a strength this year, what it normally is. So I don't mind it for a 5th round pick. It's one of them weird ones because just how well the 49ers have picked up the 5th rounder. It feels like they always pick up these great players. So you don't want to just give it away for free. But, we need help now. It's the window's closed and we're going to, Brock's going to get paid next year. So why not get more reinforcement for probably our weakest position just because of the injury? So yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest. It's feels like a sensible decision. I do want to just ask. So I wasn't quite listening. Did you touch on the Cowboys?
No, I was going to leave this to last. Okay. What do you mean you're not fucking listening?
So I'm just working some other stuff out for the podcast, Paul.
Recording, and he goes, "I'm not fucking listening." Unbelievable. No, I was purposefully saving that one to last. So Byron, let's not do 15 minutes on how bad the Cowboys are, because we do that most weeks. The most bizarre trade is what Jonathan Mingo traded from the Panthers to the Cowboys, 2nd-year wide receiver. The Cowboys have sent a 4th round pick. Just don't like 4th round picks, I don't think. Might have to start one at quarterback soon. With Dak going on IR, which Jerry Jones shared today, that's the likely outcome, that Dak's on IR. So maybe we will see Trey Lance, who the Cowboys traded a 4th round pick for, to the Niners in the summer. Jonathan Mingo from the Panthers. Make it make sense.
I can't, no. Since that his rookie season, he ranked 95 out of 104 wide receivers in yards per route run. He's showed nothing as an NFL player. He's had bad QB play in Carolina, certainly. He'll get better QB play with Dak next year. But 4th round pick, I feel, is absolutely wild. I think he should be in the, the Trey White bargain bin, 6th and the 7th swap round. 4th round picks aren't, the most valuable thing in the world, but when you're getting your pants pulled down by Dave Tepper.
Well, Dak was a 4th round pick, so sometimes you get some pretty good ones.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're bad. Like, I can't believe you give a 4th round pick for this player, Mingo, but I don't mind spending a 4th round pick if you get something for it. But I can't imagine what the second best bid for Jonathan Mingo was. Like a ham sandwich. I'm
going to go out on a limb and say Jonathan Mingo isn't on the Cowboys roster heading into week 1 of the 2025 season.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend 15 minutes, but I wouldn't want to guess what Jerry Jones is going to do between now and August.
Yeah, just crazy. I understand how the Carolina Panthers had the leverage in this situation to be able to get a 4th round pick. This is a Panthers team that has spunk so much on the up the wall with the Bryce Young trade. They're still kind of recovering from that. They obviously desperately need any assets or any pick. So the Cowboys weren't that desperate, I don't think. They could have got by, especially as you're about to put your quarterback on IR. Then why?
They could definitely get by because they're not competing.
Yeah.
Jonathan Mingo's price, if you like him as a player, it's not going to go up between now and December or February, when the league rolls over. Yeah. I really don't understand it. Jerry had to make a trade because Jerry Jones, I think, might be the entire epitome of it. He's someone I would love to be in a fantasy league with. Because
I wonder if that wouldn't have got injured if it had been something else. But anyway, the Cowboys made a stupid move. Gave up more for Jonathan Mingo than they got for Amari Cooper. I'm just always going to come back to that one for the Cowboys. Yeah. Which is wild comparing the players.
I think it's crazy because I know he mentioned that, Mingo was a top 50 player we had on the board in last year's draft, but that's last year, and you've been shown that you can't draft well for certain players. So, what was the QB? I think that was it Lynch? The
Paxton
QB
Lynch they wanted,
Lynch, how much they wanted Paxton Lynch and how that worked out. I don't think he's even in the league. So it's just don't go by 2 years draft board. At a 4th, I understand the same way he's young, he's on a rookie contract and all this kind of stuff, but you make the deals now to to make your season better. Like if you want him, wait to the end of the year. He's not going to do anything until the end of the year, and you probably could get him like a 7th round swap if you really were thinking about the future.
Yeah,
like no one else wanted him. It wasn't. Yeah, it just feels like, oh, we need another wide receiver. Who's available? Let's try and make a splash play, and it's just going down like a lead balloon. It's
Jerry is splashing piss all over his own pants, I think. So it's only splash we're getting here.
Excellent. Right. End of the trade deadline. Quick, just jump in on Monday Night Football, because we don't usually get to talk about it in too much depth. Chiefs beat the Bucs 30-24 in overtime to go to 8-0. This might be, is this fair to say this was the Chiefs' biggest test so far this season? The Bucs pushed them all the way. And what are your thoughts? Should Todd Bowles have gone for 2?
I mean, he obviously should have went for 2. I don't think that's really up for debate, is it? But Todd Bowles is a defensive coach. I think over half the league would have went for it because, what are your options there? I mean, how long did they had about 30 seconds left. There might have been just over 30 seconds, the Chiefs. So you give Patrick Mahomes the ball back with 30 seconds needing a field goal. You lose a toss and Mahomes gets the ball first. Or you win the toss. And really, there's only 1 in 3 that is beneficial, potentially. Or you can try and score a 2-yard try. I felt it was I just felt it was really soft decision making from Todd Bowles. But again, he's defensive head coach. I'm not surprised by it, but I was disappointed by it.
Baker's reaction at the coin toss, though, he saw it. He was just like, he knew straight away, didn't he? He was like, oh, game done.
And I think it was because they just basically gassed the Chiefs down that last drive. They were on top. The defense was gassed, and why not go for it? Because even if you, like you said, even if you do win the toss at OT, then you've got to go down to 70 yards again and then score a touchdown. Because if you just get a field goal, then Patrick Mahomes is more than likely gonna And it's not like the Buccaneers defense has been that good this year. It's not been good. So then you're relying on a unit which in years past, yes, was your strength, but this year your offense has been your strength, even with the injury. So why not go for it? And it feels like it's a win-win situation, because if they don't get it, no one would have said, well, Todd Bowles should have kicked in onto overtime. Everyone would have been like, yeah, he went for it. Players down, try and win it for that, for the team. Get out of Chiefs game where no one expects you to win with a W, and then you move on. But now it just feels like it leaves nasty taste. And his explanation, well, it was raining, so we want to take 2 overtime. Well, it rains for it's same for your team as well. I just didn't get it. And they played so well to get to that point, just to throw it away. It's frustrating. And I think that and the Chiefs, the Chiefs do the Chiefs. Like, they've done it all year. I think the biggest test was probably the Ravens at the start, where again, when Likely scored that touchdown, Harbaugh was 2 points. Let's win it. And I think, and the Chiefs just being the Chiefs, where they play okay most of the game and still managed to pull out a win. So
I think this is their 6th win by single digit this year, which is just funny because how many teams have 6 wins? Not many.
I know it's the first time Patrick Mahomes thrown 3 touchdowns since last year, early last year or something like that, and scoring more than 28 points and all that stuff. But must be fun to be a Chiefs fan.
No interception as well from Mahomes. He finally broke that game. He'd gone 7 games in a row with an interception until last night. Kelsey had a huge game. That's back-to-back kind of big games for Kelsey. I think now he had 10-plus receptions in back-to-back games now. Hit 100 yards for the first time this year. Feels like they've got him going after what was a very, very slow start for Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, he's rolling. I think DeAndre Hopkins there helps as well, unsurprisingly. Frees things up a little more.
Yeah. 8 for 86 for 2 for Hopkins, who busted out the Titans celebration as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And shame for the Buccaneers, because I thought, same as you, Joe. I thought they were fantastic. And you know what? I thought they'd be done after the injuries to Evans and Godwin. But that's back-to-back weeks now. So they ran the Falcons close the week before. They pushed the Chiefs all the way. That might be the toughest game the Chiefs have all season long, including the postseason. In terms of being pushed, because the Bucs were right there with him. Baker was excellent again. K. Dotton again had another big game. He's really stepping up in the absence of the 2 wide receivers. And a lot of positives to take away from Tampa, but yeah, it's just a shame now they're kind of 2 games behind the Falcons, having lost both games to them. So it's going to be tough for the Buccaneers, but they're certainly fighting and not throwing it in. And who knows, maybe they can make a late season push for a wild card spot in the NFC.
I did just want to shout out great Travis Kelce start season last night with Benjamin Solak at ESPN. His first player to have 35 or more years old to have 40 receptions in a game.
Nice.
Which is pretty wild because it felt like Joe Rice was doing that at 42. But yeah, it's a hell of a start considering how Kelce's been a lot of the year.
Yeah, try. Just quick, while we're on the subject of Kelce, I don't know if you saw pre-game, Jason Kelce did a full apology. Jason Kelce didn't need to apologize for spiking that kid's phone at Penn State the other day. No need to apologize, Jason Kelce.
The only thing he should apologize for is maybe not punching the guy's teeth in.
Yeah.
I think there's too many. I don't want to sound like a boomer. There's too many people. I'm not going to age it, to be fair, in the social media age, though, who don't deal with and find out in their lives enough. Yeah. Everyone's happy to fuck around when they're behind an avatar on the internet, but not enough finding out in the world, in my opinion. So more finding out, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Taylor Swift was in the house as well. Maybe that's why Travis played so well. Who knows? We'll move on to our mid-season awards, which is the main point of this episode, and we're now 20 minutes into it. So we did this last year, so we're going to cover off the main usual NFL awards and then a couple of extra ones we've put in as well. Joe's been working diligently in the background and not listening to prepare the graphics for this one, primarily because I put my selections in late. So you know what? That's on me, Joe. I'll own that and be a bit more timely with my selections for the awards moving forward and just selections in general. How are we kicking this off, Joe? Are we ready to roll?
Yeah, ready to roll. Sorry, just share my screen.
Oh, it's okay, mate. Don't worry. I felt like should I have got dressed up? Should I maybe put the jacket on, the tie? I don't know. But it's the mid-season. Maybe we'll do that at the end of season awards. But we're going to kick off with our MVP shout. I think this might be unanimous.
I was upset saying,
yeah. And yes, unsurprisingly, it is. It's the current favourite and front runner, Lamar Jackson. Just by far and away, I think. Who's closest to him? That might be the better conversation because I think it's Lamar by a mile at the minute.
Try Josh Allen on play. Try Patrick Mahomes on narrative in terms of going undefeated. But I don't think it's actually close. Maybe Jaden Daniels.
Terribly.
He has, but if they go unbeaten, and I will say as well, I had this stat up yesterday. Yeah, so the Chiefs on third down are incredible, and they are winning every game. So I think if that keeps up by the end of the season, I don't think if they're 16 and 17 and 0 come the end of the year, I think there's only more of being unbeaten and how good they've been on third down than what I think is a fairly blippy interception streak. It's Bill Darmel at ESPN. Chiefs passing EPA per down ranks. On first down, they are 22nd in the league. On second down, they are 19th in the league. On third, they are first. Second place is close to 11th than they are first. So on third down, they just get it done. And that feels very Mahomesian. And,
feels very valuable.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, I don't see it as anyone but Lamar, just to be clear. But I think on play, I'd say Josh Allen's probably closest. And, yeah, if the Chiefs do go unbeaten, then you have to consider Patrick Mahomes. You just have to.
Fair. Okay. Joe, any other shouts for you or just, overwhelmingly Lamar?
Yeah, I think Byron's mentioned other ones. I would say probably Josh Allen is the closest. But, yeah, Lamar would have to drop off quite a long way. The remaining season, but it can happen though. I think last year we were he's obviously going to win, and then narrative appears, and it does normally the last 9 games of the season weighs more heavily than the first 9. So, but yeah, Lamar fairly comfortably.
Fair. Offensively, go on. Sorry,
I do have a couple of Lamar stats. I just wanted to shout out as kind of how ridiculous he is. I guess Lamar now has 4 games. This isn't a career, but he's had a very special career, and this year has been part of it. Lamar now has 4 games in his career with a perfect passer rating with at least 15 attempts. He is tied with Peyton Manning as the best 2 players to ever have 4 in a career. And Lamar Jackson is not retired like Peyton Manning is. So a reasonable chance he becomes an all-time record holder of For the season, in defensive adjusted yards above replacement, one of those DVOA stats, Lamar Jackson is now at 1,100 passing DYAR. Jaden Daniels is second at 676. The gap between them two is larger than the gap between Daniels and Jordan Love at 16th on that ranking. And that doesn't include any of Lamar Jackson's rushing work. That's literally just his passing work. I think those kind of stats just kind of speak to just how incredible he is. Like, you get to see it as well, which it's always a benefit with Lamar. Like I say a lot, he's probably my favorite player in the NFL just to watch, because, you know, I just burst out laughing watching him sometimes, because it's like, he's not human. It feels like he is just like a different species, and seeing stats like that really back it up that you're not just imagining it, essentially. So yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, let's move on into Offensive Player of the Year. So again, this one probably could have been unanimous, but I sort of recognised the way that this recording could have gone, so purposefully picked somebody different. But I don't think they're a million miles away.
I'm going to say I did something similar. Mine's a very wild card pick.
Fair enough. Cool. So I'll start with mine. So I think overwhelmingly the favourite, and unsurprisingly the bookies' favourite for this award, is Derrick Henry, because of the unbelievable start he's had to life in Baltimore. The Kings leading the way. So far. So I assumed that, Joe, you'd have picked the same as well, but you haven't. You've picked Jared Goff, Joe?
Yeah, I just think it's not gone unnoticed, but the amount of stats he's racking up the last few weeks, like the last 6 weeks, has just been, 6-0 win-loss, 82.8 completion percentage, 13 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 140.1 passer rating. So his completion percentage and passer rating are both the highest in a 6-game span since at least 1970, with a minimum of 100 passes attempted. And he smashed the record of Manning, which was 78.3 completion. So he's way above that. And just even this full year is above 82, and, it's far and above that. And I think if they carry on and, how they keep going, let's say they finish 15-2, and he has these kind of stats where he's above 80% completion and he's, all these touchdowns, I think he's got a chance, because I'm more confident with him carrying on his projection compared to, the running backs if one of them just gets hurt. But I think Goff's been great this year and he's been appreciated. I thought, why not chuck a wild card in there?
Fair. I went with Saquon. I'm conscious he's played a game less than Derrick Henry as well at this point. And he's not too far behind, actually, in rushing yards anyway. I think he's 125 behind. He's still got a game. That's a game over.
And he plays the Cowboys this week.
And he plays Dallas this week, yeah. So he could be caught up. So obviously, Derrick Henry's over. He's got 1,052 yards through 9 games and 11 touchdowns, which is crazy start. The pace that he's on. Saquon's not too far behind. He's 925 yards through 8 games, so he's averaging 115 yards a game. He's got 6 touchdowns already as well. And I think that highlight itself from Sunday is worth a lot. Just the reverse leapfrog hurdle was, worth a lot. So I've gone for Saquon, and he is second behind Derrick Henry in the betting, and not too far. So Derrick Henry's minus 160, so odds on. Saquon's plus 240, so kind of 5-2 area. So obviously, if Saquon could, if they continue on, they could end up being real close for this. And Byron, understandably, you've gone for Derrick Henry. Yeah,
I'm really glad I did, though, because I was going to go Saquon as well. And then I was like, you know what? Derrick Henry has been slightly better. Saquon's been like that Riverdale, as I'm calling it, was super fun and super exciting. And Saquon's been so good this year. Touchdowns have been hampered a little, obviously, by Jalen Hurts. There was that great clip of him not wanting to go for a record against the Giants because he wanted the young guys to go and get the legs in. I've loved Saquon Barkley this year, and I was really close to putting him in here. So I'm glad you did, because I think he deserves a shout. I also love Goff as a shout. I'll be very annoyed as someone who backed MVP Goff if he wins OPOY, though, let me tell you.
I was going to say, I can read out what our predictions was as well to see how they're going while we go through these. So, yes, MVP, Paul, you went Rodgers, which obviously hasn't started well. That's probably gone. Yeah, you went Goff, Byron, and I went Burrows, which I think Burrows could still be in it because I think he's still had he's had a good year in terms of individually playing. Obviously, team not so great, but if they run the table and somehow beat out the Baltimore Ravens, then He's got a chance for all.
If Rodgers runs the table, he could fucking win it.
Yeah, but I feel like Burrows has played well the first 9 games. I don't think Rodgers have played well the first 9 games. So, defensive player of the year, Paul, you went Breece Hall. Byron, you went Devon Chain and Kenneth Walker at higher odds, and I went Bijan and Saquon. So that's one of us who.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
If Achane had his quarterback the entire season, it'd still be my pick. He's outscoring Derrick Henry in fantasy in games where he has Tua. But, you know, you can't expect... Who could expect a Tua Tagovailoa brain injury?
Yeah. Okay, I'm sure I've got Saquon 40-1 bet in my slips here for Offensive Player of the Year.
You didn't put it on the show, so...
Yeah.
Let's move on to DPOY.
Yeah. That's now 2.5.
We did have our way too early season predictions. That might have been where you done it.
Could have been in that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not in your official season predictions, but it might be in your early one, yeah.
Yeah, I've got Saquon at 40-1 for Offensive Player of the Year, so very much.
But who we got for DPOY? Oh. Not TJ Watt.
No, but I think he's the favourite at the minute. I think this one's a lot more open than maybe it's been in previous years because obviously TJ Watt's been very good and probably is rightly the front runner through the first part of the season. But we've not had kind of the rest of the big guns, the Bosa, the Parsons, the Crosby. I think he's, good to say he's been a bit with the way it's gone for the Raiders. Who else was there? Myles Garrett. Chris Jones has been playing well, but I don't think he's got to that point yet. He might come later down the line, second half of the season. Yeah, we've not had that yet. So
Aiden Hutchinson's now injured as well.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, that was the other name I was missing. Yeah. Joe, you've gone for Trey Hendrickson, even though the Bengals defense has been struggling as a whole.
I think sometimes, let me just get this up. When you just look at stats itself, he's got the most sacks in the league. He's got 11 so far, 2 more than the next highest, which is Dexter Lawrence. He's got more tackles for losses than TJ Watt, and he's also he's got the highest tackle for losses as well. And yeah, there's forced fumble 1, so he's pass deflected 3 times, which is 1 more than Watt. Watt just beats him on forced fumbles and fumble recovery. So I was like, he's got 4.5 more sacks. I was going to put TJ Watt, but again, it felt like too chalk. So I thought Trey Hendrickson, with the stats itself, is being an absolute burner. And sometimes these awards is just who gets the most sacks, and he's got 11 so far, halfway through the year. So he's flying compared to some of the big guys. So why not?
He's 11-1.
He also leads the league in quarterback hits as well, which not all of them count as a sack, but certainly means you get a shit ton of pressure.
So Byron, you've gone for Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, I think kind of big words, and I don't mean it as hypothetical as it sounds, but he's kind of filling the Aaron Donald role as like the the dominant defensive tackle in the league. I think he moves so smoothly for a man of his size. He's got 9 sacks already, basically double, well, just under double. Quinnen Williams got 5, the next D tackle in the league. On a Giants team that, let's face it, isn't going anywhere. He's just, like I say, he's not Aaron Donald, but I don't think there's a D tackle as dominant as him in the league right now. That includes Chris Jones. He's the heartbeat of that team, the heartbeat of everything good that defense does, and is kind of just one of the few D tackles that you instantly see on screen. You're like, oh, fuck, he's a real monster. He's second in the league in sacks, which seems unreal for a D tackle as well. So, yeah, that's why I went Lawrence.
Yeah, you can get him at 20-1 at the minute, Dexter Lawrence, at this point of the season. Having a real strong year. I've gone for someone different because I know this award always tends to go to the pass rushers and what have you. I've gone for Brian Branch as a bit of a different pick. I think he just got elements of everything in his game. Of whether he can come up, obviously comes up, can affect the run game. He take the ball away, play elements of corner and safety. I just think he's so versatile, and I think he's just been real impressive for the Lions. I think he's got 4 interceptions already and a forced fumble, on top of all the other plays he makes. So yeah, I've gone sort of Brian Branch. I think it's 11 passes he's broke up as well, which is there's only Denzel Ward that's broken up more. He's very much that mix of a true cornerback safety hybrid. And I think he's done a real good job so far in the first half of the season, apart from getting him ejected from the game the other day.
I totally agree. He's been so fun to watch. I think I've said it the last few weeks. I don't think there's a better safety in the league right now. Him and Kirby Joseph have got 6 interceptions for Kirby Joseph, 4 for Brian Branch. There's not another safety other than McKinney who's getting close to them. So, yeah, great tandem. And I think as well, like Brian Branch as well, like he possibly more than anyone on that franchise right now kind of summarizes what it is to be a Detroit Lion under Dan Campbell. Like, I think he is that kind of like coach on the field, and when the coach is Dan Campbell, that is a rare praise from me. Obviously, I love a lot about his Detroit team, but yeah, Branch I think is a real heartbeat of it.
Yeah. Realistically, safety isn't going to win that award,
no.
But
he definitely deserves a shout out.
Ed Reed, the last one, and don't know if Brian Branch is going to get to Ed Reed levels of play.
You'd need it to be a down sack year.
Yeah,
I think ultimately, if Hendrickson wins it, like he's not going to win it with 14 sacks at this rate. He's already on 11. But like, if it was someone like under 15 sacks and the Lions end up as the number 1 seed, it's not out of play. What odds is he? Did you say
35?
Okay, yeah, not crazy.
Yeah, cool. And then,
so I'll just say, sorry, Paul, just the ones who we went for. So you went for Crosby and Will Anderson Jr., which is a good shout. He's got plenty of sacks this year. Byron, you went Will Anderson as well, and Daniel Hunter. I had TJ Watt and Hutchinson, which is really annoying because he was a 10-1. And when you look at his stats,
he was killing it.
This year he's only played 5 games, but he's only 3.5 sacks behind the leader. And he's only 5 QB hits. He's still second in QB hits, and he only played 5 games. So I think he's like the highest pressure rate or like most pressures, and that was still in week 8 and 9, even though he'd missed a number of games. So a shame because I feel like he was going to romp home the defensive player of the year, just how well he was playing and how the Lions have been playing. So yeah, it's a shame. And then so coach of the year.
Yeah. Coach of the year. And again, this was going to be one that would have been a clean sweep, but for the purposes of the podcast, I'm kind of saying really I think it is Dan Quinn. Just a phenomenal job on what he's done, I think, with the Commanders so far. I think we talked the other day, with whatever, they're going to be a minimum, or there should be a minimum 11-win team based on what they've got left. They've got the Cowboys twice, Patriots, Titans, I think, on that schedule, and that's before they play the Eagles twice, and whoever else they've got to play. So I think they'd be a minimum 11-win team, and considering just how poor that franchise has been to turn it around so, quickly, I think he's been massively impressive.
Yeah, I was going to go for like maybe Gannon for Cardinals, just how they've turned it around and looking better. But then I was like, I never expected Commanders to be 7-2, so it's fairly, I had to just go with the most obvious one with Dan Quinn. Yeah,
Dan Quinn plus 180 at the minute, so just short of 2-1. I just went for something a little bit different again, just knowing that we're probably all going to go for Dan Quinn. Jim Harbaugh, I think, again, just turning around that culture in LA with the Chargers. I think he's been really impressive. I kind of knew he was going to do it, but I thought it might have taken at least a year because they're just so soft and have been just, as a franchise as a whole, for years and years, just so soft. And it got to the absolute pits with Brandon Staley last year. But credit to him. He's done a phenomenal job of instilling that toughness that we associate with his teams. And they are starting to open things up now as well. They're 5-3, could have been 6-2, really. That lost late to the Cardinals. I think he's done a fantastic job so far. I'm fully expecting, I think the Chargers will make the playoffs. I think to turn that franchise around from that, built on a very tough defense. Defense hasn't given up 20 points yet, and we're at the halfway point of the season. A really, really good job, I think, from Harbaugh, and a real solid foundation. I think the Chargers can be a good team for a number of years now, based on the work that he's done in year one. 10-1 Harbaugh at the minute.
Yeah, not a bad price. I think it will be Dan Quinn pending anything crazy, but yeah, I think Harbaugh definitely a good shout.
There's a couple of other shouts. I think Tomlin, the
Yeah.
Steelers are going well, and Matt LaFleur as well. I think it's a good shout.
Yeah, and obviously Dan Campbell, if they go like 16-1.
The same for the Chiefs if they go unbeaten as well. But I think with this award, it is so often bad to good. Like, but the LaFleur, winning games with Malik Willis is an incredible achievement. But I think come December, voters won't care. I think it'll just be, what is the record? Okay, Washington went from picking number 2 to 12-5. Okay, well, it's Washington then. I think that is kind of as simplistic as the voters are sometimes, and I don't think there's much.
I do think the other thing that could stop it is if the Chiefs went 17-0, because it's been
that's what
nobody's done it, because we've not had a 17-0, and the last team to do it was obviously the Patriots in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Andy Reid at 7-1 could be a good shout. If someone's going to be the Chiefs, though, aren't they? Keep playing these close games. They're not the Vikings of 2022.
Did we have any good quotes of the year picks, Joe?
Not really, no. You had McVay and McDonald. I had Steichen and Ryans, which I don't think any of them's going to win here. So.
And Paul had Robert Saleh?
He had nobody.
I'm just going to say pick Robert Saleh, though.
Yep.
I didn't pick anyone.
No, I remember you were a bit like, I'm picking anyone. So
nobody does. Yeah. Right. On to offensive rookie of the year. Is this a clean sweep?
Yeah, and the defensive rookie of the year is a clean sweep as well. So I just want to do both at the same time.
Feels like they're clean sweeps for different reasons. There haven't been really any good defensive rookies, it feels like.
Yeah.
And there's been one, my word, offensive rookie. There's been a lot of good offensive rookies, it feels like. But one is it's Jaden Daniels. I don't know why I'm toying around with it.
Truly outstanding. So the next one, Jaden Daniels got his minus 1,400.
Mm-hmm.
The next, there's 2 tied. Bo Nix and Caleb Williams next.
Really?
28-1.
I was thinking it would be Brock Bowers, to be honest, just because
Bowers is 35-1.
Because he's been
leading the NFL in receptions.
Yeah.
I kind of understand Bo Nix, even though he hasn't been that good, because he's despite being taken 11th, it's kind of 12th. It's kind of like he's better than we thought, despite being a really early pick. Caleb Williams.
Yeah, 28-1.
Malik Neighbors has been better than him. Brock Bowers has been better than him. Joe Walter's has been better than him. A tackle's never winning it, I do appreciate, but Brian Thomas has been better than him.
Zach Frazier center's been better than him.
He's not I forget his name. The Troy Thompson, is it? The Bears punter has been better than him, but I don't know if he counts as an offensive player. That is staggering. I presumed Malik Neighbors and Bowers were going to be the 2 and 3 when you said they were tied.
No, yeah. Well, they are tied.
Just not 2.
At 35-1. You can get Tyler Guyton at 250-1 if you.
I'll be like Tyler Guyton and I'll hold on that one.
Jaden Daniels been incredible, hasn't he? Just phenomenal stuff from the, from the Commanders full stop, and he's been crazy. I don't think it's been a great year. It doesn't feel like it's been a truly great year for rookie performances so far in the NFL, does it?
Defensively,
I think outside of Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Neighbors for a few weeks. Brian Thomas has been good.
Yeah, I think Neighbors, Bowers, and Thomas have all been really good. I think that's maybe a bit harsh on those 3.
McConkey's been good the last few weeks.
Yeah, McConkey I think's been again really good the last few weeks. Yeah. But McConkey wasn't an early first round pick either, to be fair. Yeah. Ricky Pearsall got shot. Worthy's had moments. Marvin Harrison's been an underwhelming player. I'm not sure if he's going to make one of our awards or not in biggest letdowns.
Yeah.
I think he's probably been the Roma Dunze has been outstanding. Again, moments, but nothing to write home about. And the quarterbacks have been, outside of Jaden Daniels, up and down.
They've just been rookie quarterbacks, haven't they?
Exactly.
Where you expect, like Drake May's actually showing stuff. Bo Nix is a lot better than we expected. Who knows with Penix? You never know. But
I think sometimes we get a bit
high on
spoiled.
the list, the betting list as well, Michael Penix, and he's been in for garbage time in one of the games, hasn't he? Which seems very odd. Right, well, let's move on from the rookies then. Jared Verse, he's been doing okay.
And I thought about Quinion Mitchell, who's been pretty good, but
I could pick DeJean just because the last 4 games he's played well and did well, and I think, and I'll give a shout to someone who's never going to win it, but he's been ranking well. So Evan Williams for the Packers is the 4th ranked safety by PFF this year. So, but it's not a splash player, and I feel like Verse has been the last few weeks has been showing up as like I keep hearing that he's a real man and he's like super strong and he's just bullying people and he's just that kind of player where it's like men against boys sometimes because he's just got so much power. So doing that as a rookie is impressive. So I'll give a shout out to you, Paul, and a little bit to Byron as well. So offensive rookie, you did have Jaden Daniels at plus 600. You also had Worthy. You also had Verse at plus 1,000, same as Byron. So you both had Verse as your.
This one Paul's copying my sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Byron had Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors as his offensive rookie of the year, and I had Bo Nix and Brian Thomas Jr. So they're not horrendous. So but they're not going to win it because Jaden Daniels is just way above everyone.
I think the only other one, I don't think he will be. He's quite odds 28-1. The first month, Devondre Sweat was so good for the Titans, blocking the entire middle of that defensive line. But obviously that seems to have eased off a bit as well. But someone who didn't necessarily have the fanfare from a draft perspective, I was critical of him being drafted too high, but he's played really well to start with. But yeah, not really anybody else, I don't think, that's kind of stood out. Most improved. So we've gone for a couple of picks here. We've gone for kind of teams or units and then individual players. Joe, do you want to start with yours first?
Yeah, I went the Commanders defense, just a team who was 32nd in passing and overall defense last year has just suddenly become more of a strength this year. And I think they're around 13th, 12th, but that's such a massive leap. I think, I feel obviously the offense is being the star of the show, but getting a defense from being the pits to, better than average, it's a huge. And now they've obviously got Lattimore as well. I think that's going to keep improving. So, and they didn't really make that many splash moves. It was just more let's raise the floor with all these veterans and start playing, average defense. And they have done that, and a few of the players have picked up as strived. And I think it feels like a very Dan Quinn kind of move where it comes the first year of Dan Quinn is normally works out very well on defense. So how much they've improved, and from a team who on the power rankings would have been fairly low at the start of the year to be, I think in our latest one, which is coming out tomorrow, to be 5th. It's not just what's happening on offense. I think that defense has also helped out and games. So I think they've massively improved.
The bit part players they took from depth guys that are making plays. Like every time this Commanders game, Commanders are on defense now. Dante Fowler's making plays left, right, and center. Dorrance Armstrong had a really good start to the season. These were depth guys that came from Dallas, but they've done a real good job of it. And it was shaky to start with maybe, but now they've really settled down and are kind of a good unit. So good shout, Byron. Your most improved team / unit.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going unit, I would have went Cardinals defense, but we didn't really decide beforehand. So I just went the Cardinals overall. But the Cardinals defense, especially the second half of the first half of the season, I guess, has been really impressive. They're really well coached. They are still, I think, on paper, not the most talented defense in the world by some distance, but they play hard, they play fundamentally well, and their offense matches them really well as well because their running attack is. I mean, there's been a lot of really good running backs this year, so I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but James Conner's playing really well. And their general rushing game has been better than I think even anticipated, because I think James Conner kind of thought he'd be pretty good, but their all lines working really well. Paris Johnson Jr., the rookie from last year, has stepped up this year. And it just looked really solid, which I don't think is a word we've used about the Cardinals for a long time. Even when they were good, they were always kind of a bit flashy, whereas now they feel kind of like a good, robust team. And from being a man who was pretty mocked taking the job. I think Gannon's having a really good second season, and yeah, got the Cardinals.
Nice. I've gone specifically for the Chargers defense. So yeah, Harbaugh brought Jesse Minter with him from the University of Michigan. And yeah, they transferred a lot of what that Michigan defense was about into the NFL, and with the Chargers, real solid. And I think when you've got Justin Herbert at quarterback, if you can keep teams to under 20, you've got a chance of winning every single game. And that's what they've done so far. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that across all 17 games, but I think they'll do it for the majority of them. And yeah, keep teams less than 20 points in the NFL, you've always got a chance of winning the game. You've got, really balanced, good rushing attack, balanced, letting Herbert do more offensively, but that's because the defense is doing what, limiting opponents. And I know they've not necessarily played many high-powered offenses yet, and they'll have some before the end of the season. But look, you can only play who's in front of you and do that job, and they're doing a fantastic job so far. And yeah, I think that will carry the Chargers into the postseason. We've all gone for players as well. I've gone for Will McDonald as my most improved player so far. I think it was a really disappointing rookie season for Will McDonald. He's the first round pick from 2023, but he's really stepped up. We talked about kind of what was going on early in the season with Hassan Reddick, that Will McDonald would need to step up, and I think he has. He's been a real bright spot for the Jets. He's on 8 sacks, or he's only behind Lawrence and Hendrickson through 9 weeks. He just seems to show up more and more as each week goes by, and I think he's had a real leap in this second year. And I think he can push on and be a difference maker for the Jets down the stretch. Help them recover from that terrible start that they've had. But he's certainly been a huge bright spot for the Jets so far, and I'm expecting him to kind of push on a little bit more in year 3 and beyond, and be a real force in the NFL. But I think he's had a fantastic first half of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a good shot, especially with Hassan Reddick, only turning up very late. I think the plan was probably for him to start and McDonald be behind him, but he's played really well through his first half.
Yeah, excellent. Byron, your most improved?
Yeah, Darnell Mooney has been in sync with Kirk Cousins basically since week 1, it feels like. Do you know he's a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football this year, Darnell Mooney? He's a wide receiver 9 in fantasy football.
That's crazy.
The midway point, yeah. I always liked Mooney in Chicago. He had 1 year over 1,000, and the rest were kind of just like hit and miss. And I thought he was a really good deep threat. But in Atlanta, he's being used much more creatively. He's still a really good deep threat. But yeah, he's become a real focal part of the offense. And I certainly didn't. Well, I'm not going to say I didn't see it coming, because actually, I do these Fantasy Cares Eliminators drafts. I have 100% Darnell Mooney in those leagues, which is like 15, because he was such a value. I don't play much of the best ball, which maybe should do more of it next year. But I think I'd have had close to 100% Darnell Mooney in those as well, because he's such a boom bust kind of player. But I mean, this first half of the season has been much more boom than bust, and yeah, he's like a legitimate wide receiver too in Atlanta.
Excellent stuff. And Joe, your shout for most improved?
Yeah, I've gone Cade Otton. I just think with the big injuries they've had, he's suddenly stepped up, and he's someone who you didn't really hear of the last few years, and he's become probably a top 10 tight end, and is the 3rd in TDs for tight ends, and 4th, I think, on receptions, and 5th or 6th on yards. So I think where he was last year, he's already got as many yards this year than he did last year. So I think he's just made that massive step, and he's becoming one of the tight ends you've just got to look out for now. It's I think he's took a huge leap, and basically is the Bucs offense, especially catching now. So for Autumn.
Excellent, good stuff. And how many we got left, Joe? Is it just the one left, or we got a couple? Yeah. Biggest letdown. I'll go, and it's a very specific one. I've gone for the New Orleans Saints after week 2 as my biggest letdown. There was a lot of hype around the New Orleans Saints after beating the Panthers and the Cowboys in week 1 and 2, putting 40+ points on them and having this real explosive offense. And we were all praising Clint Kubiak. And the Saints had really taken a step and, they were going to be able to carry this on. And then they haven't won a game since. They fired the head coach, Dennis Allen, this week. It's been a disaster. Everybody's hurt. It's been a rough one for the Saints. That's my biggest letdown, just because of the hype around the Saints from after they beat the Cowboys. Byron, your biggest letdown?
Miami Dolphins. As soon as Tua got hurt, they tossed the towel in, and they weren't great before Tua got hurt. I think they've looked not too bad in 2 games since Tua came back, but they're 0-2 in those games. So, for a team I thought would push for 10 wins, they look lost at sea. So, I think it's the Dolphins are thin.
We all have the all have the Dolphins to make the playoffs this year. All in the wild card we chose, but don't see that happening now. I just went the Cowboys. I think Dolphins would have been my choice, but with Byron going, I went the Cowboys instead. I don't think they were going to be as good as last year, but it's just felt even more inept and more car crash. So went with the Cowboys. For the player, I went Keenan Allen. I was just trying to think again. I think Anthony Richardson or Trevor, which are going to be coming up, would it be my pick? I just was trying to pick one player who it felt like when the Bears got him, everyone was hyped and he was going to be maybe not the number 1 but number 2 receiver, and he was going to take this Bears offense to a new level. And just the Bears in general, the offense has been very disappointing. And when I think he's only played 6 games, but he's only got 197 yards and he's down like 120th in yards compared to last year, where I think he was 11th. It's certainly a massive change because he only played 13 games last year and he still came 11th, and so it's been very disappointing this year.
He was on my shortlist, Keenan Allen, as well. I thought they might trade him today just to kind of get him out the building, truthfully. He's been really disappointing. Isn't helping the offense at all. I went Anthony Richardson. I did struggle trying to think of someone who was a total letdown, because to be fair, we were all pretty cynical about Richardson going into the year and going into last year. But the boom hasn't been there. A couple of great throws in week 1, and then since then it's just been medium at best and a lot worse at worst. So, the Colts have said it's going to be for Joe Flacco the rest of the season, and I don't think you can get much more of a bigger indictment. True, I know Flacco's fine, but that isn't where the Colts want to be now. Obviously, that is nowhere the desired path. Richardson's about 10 games into his career, might be just under, it might be 10, and it feels like the Colts have already wrote him off. So, my biggest letdown there.
I think he'll get that. I think he'll have one more. I think he'll get one more chance, Richardson, at the start of next season, because you think of where the Colts are going to be. They're probably going to be somewhere around 500.
Yeah,
they're not going to take anybody. I don't think they're their own free agency, and I think they think there's a bit more what we've got invested in him. They'll give him one more chance. I think we'll be in week 4 or 5 next year. Either he's injured again or they've pulled him out because he's terrible. And you know what? I couldn't honestly put him on my biggest letdown because he was already at the floor for me. I already think he's terrible, so I couldn't put him on as a letdown. Maybe his cardiovascular fitness could have been the biggest letdown. You see me get caught yawning on the sideline on Sunday Night Football.
Just as they were saying how bored he is on learning, and he looked like he was going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
It was a boring game, though, let's be honest. There's plenty of people yawning in that game.
I think you just got to be aware, haven't you?
I'm not sure his awareness is his top trait, though.
No. I've gone for Trevor Lawrence. Had the big contract in the offseason, and I just don't think he's delivered again. I think we're going to look back on Trevor Lawrence and just sort of a big, what could have been with Trevor Lawrence. And I know he's only in year 4. Yeah? 20, year 4 or year 5 with Trevor Lawrence?
Year 4.
Year 4. And we're all in year 4 with Trevor Lawrence, and he could go on and develop.
He's making the same mistakes he was in year 1, 2, and 3, though.
I think part of me feels like he's regressed. He had the back end of the 2022 season where they had to reel off 6 of the last 7 to get in the playoffs. That's as good as he's been. Yeah. And even last year when they got to 8-3 or whatever they were, he didn't play great through that. And yeah, I'm just thinking, I keep thinking, right, this is going to be the year that we're going to see him, and he just doesn't. And I think he's been disappointing. The Jaguars as a whole have sucked, which doesn't help. And yeah, I've just been really, really disappointed in him. And yeah, I just think Trevor Lawrence's career is going to be a look back and go, yeah, there was so much more there that he just never got out of him. Big disappointment for me. Coach is going to go. He's going to have another coach, I assume, next year. So what's that? A 4th one? Is he have a 4th head coach?
3. Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson, then the new one. Maybe a temporary head coach after Urban Meyer, but 3 real ones.
Was there not one before Urban Meyer?
No.
Was Urban Meyer the one, and then Doug Peterson? Okay. Yeah, That's why he got a free hit for his rookie year. Fair. Yeah. Okay. Just, yeah, this is going to be a struggle for him. And then moving on to our calls, we're going to have a look at our best takes, worst takes. I'm real happy with this one, with my best one. It's what I think I was banging about pre-draft.
Oh, yeah. Months.
Yeah, months I've been going on. Like, I would have absolutely taken Jaden Daniels number 1. And it's easy to say that now, but I was saying it in March, April. Take Jaden Daniels number 1. Yeah, Jaden Daniels is far superior to Caleb Williams and will be throughout their entire careers. And I think that's proved out so far through 9 weeks. I say proved out, it's only been 9 weeks. I've just said the whole careers. But yeah, Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams, I think, is my best take so far this season.
I think Joe's got the best word in here.
Yeah, I'll go next. It was similar to last year. I just think there's certain teams who are just going to just stink. And I went with the Bears, Jets, Browns. I even went with the Panthers as well, if I can figure on, to all be under and all not to get the playoffs. And I chose these 3 teams mainly because I think there was such hype around them as there was the year before. And it's always the same. And I just felt that usually the media and everything thinks they're a lot better than they actually are. And I think each team, I think obviously the Bears are 4-4, but how they've been playing in their schedule, I don't think all of these are still going to hit their under and miss the playoffs after everyone predicting them to win their divisions and win MVPs and stuff. So it's I'll stink all of
this. There's a shot at me there.
It's at least a little one, isn't it? I went my best call of the season. Even if it doesn't hit, Malik Neighbours, most receptions in the league. He is currently 3rd with 55, having missed 2 games with a concussion. Wilson and Bowers ahead of him. He has 55, like I said. Garrett Wilson has 60. Brock Bowers has 57. They've both played 2 games more. Of receivers who've got at least 40 catches, because let's face it, anyone with less than 40 is not catching that. He has 1.2 catches more per game than anyone else in the league. He has 7.8 catches per game. Garrett Wilson has 6.6, CeeDee Lamb 6.62, Nico Collins 6.4, etc., etc. He's been exactly as promised. Absolutely electric. Catches everything. Yeah, I still think he's certainly within a shout of getting most receptions. Like I say, he's only 5 behind Garrett Wilson. And he's the only thing on there. He's not the only thing on the Giants offense, to be fair, because Wan'Dale Robinson is 7th in receptions. Which blows my mind, because how can you have 2 of the top 7 most receptions in the league and have Daniel Jones as your quarterback? I don't know, really. But they do. And Malik Neighbours, I think, is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. And I just shout out some more good calls as well. I had a look through our Olympic bets through the divisions and season predictions.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. And I found some one. So I'll go for Paul first. So you had one where the exact order NFC East was Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants at plus 1,400. So that's not looking too bad. You have the Commanders to make the playoffs at plus 300, which is more or less feels like a lock now. And the Titans having the worst record at plus 900, which if they didn't win last weekend, they would have been outright. But they still have a shot.
But 2 wins,
yeah. So Byron, obviously we mentioned the Chiefs to start 0-5 at plus 550. That is already hit and already done there. You had the Colts and Texans to make the playoffs, so it's still there and thereabouts at plus 266. Sorry. And yeah, Devon Achane scored 7 receiving touchdowns at plus 1200. He's got 3 so far, but with 2 are back. I expect that to. And I haven't looked at all the ones with like yards and stuff because I didn't have time to check all that. But there's some. I'll just shout some of mine. So Colts Texans to be top 2 in their division at plus 200. Lamar to get over 1,000 rush yards at plus 320, and he's halfway there with half the season. And another exact order for the North, I went Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears at plus 1,000, and currently that's working out. So we have had some good calls during the summer. So we had some bad ones, but I haven't written them one down. So don't worry, guys.
I've got a lot of bad ones. Yeah, specifically around the NFC South, I couldn't really got that. I just need to leave the NFC South during pre-season bet. So I had the Saints to win the division, which after 2 weeks, I was real smug about at 4-1. Obviously, it's gone disastrously wrong. And I thought the Bucs were going to struggle as well. I had the Bucs down maybe like 4 or 5 wins, and yeah, they've massively improved. I think I took them under 7.5 wins, but I kind of on my predictions, I think 4 or even maybe 5 at best. And they're already there, and they're playing really well, and in spite of a lot of difficulties and challenges. So yeah, I think I've just been real wrong about the NFC South. Joe, you might have found a worse one than that, but that was the one I thought that combination of views was the one that I thought was the worst of mine. Rodgers MVP maybe could be my worst shout.
There was a big shout of Jonathan Brooks, Offensive Rookie of the Year. But
yeah, it was bold. That was a bold one, though. Yeah.
Another NFC South one.
Yeah, NFC South related. Yeah. Byron, yours?
I had the Vikings as the worst record, especially when JJ McCarthy went down because Sam Darnold is a bum and he'll never win any games in the league. And they started 5-0 and made me look very silly. Yeah, they're certainly not going to have the worst record in the league. Not going to have the worst record in their division, probably. So, yeah, that was a real swing and a miss. Great job, Kevin O'Connell. And Brian Flores has been balling out again in the first half of the season. We'll see how it lasts the second half, because I do think happened a little bit last season as well, where it starts really great with the blitz and then people kind of figure out how to manage it a bit more in the second half. But, yeah, I'm certainly miles off on them being the worst team in football.
And Joe?
Yeah, I've just gone everything Colts. I had a few bets like more sacks, Richardson to get the most rushing TDs, Shane Steichen to Coach of the Year, and then winning the division. Just feels like none of that's going to happen. So all the optimism around the Colts, wasn't great. And I also writ off the Falcons quite a bit, so I think that's another bad one for me, where I had the Saints book to finish top 2.
Yeah, I'd say my Falcons not to make the playoffs under 9.5 wins. They've already won 6. They've won 6 games already.
But at least he's not as bad as your Panthers won the first year, so we're improving.
We are improving, I don't know, but barely. Right, yo, is that us, Joe? Is that all of our mid-season awards? Congratulations to all our mid-season award winners. I'm sure that will give you a boost towards the end of the NFL season, because you got recognised by good teams when great teams cover. That's the end of our second episode in our overtime series. We might be back at some point in a few weeks with another overtime episode, but we will definitely be back with our Week 10 preview episode, which will be available on Friday morning. So yeah, please do come along, give that a watch and a listen. We're joined by one of the guys from Atlanta Falcons UK, who's going to be our guest picker. We're going to preview the Falcons Saints and chat all things Falcons. And yeah, we'll be back with our best bets, our ATS picks, our fourfold challenge, and our fantasy game day tips as well. So yeah, catch us for that and follow along Spotify. You'll be notified new episodes when they're dropped. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, we're big on Blue Sky.
Big on Blue Sky at GTW_GTC. We'll catch you for the Week 10 preview.